Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my new Marvel Eternals video. There have been a bunch of things happening with the movie, a bunch of announcements that Marvel has made, what's going on with the characters. Some of them are going to be crossing over with future Avengers movies, so we'll break it all down. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave all your theories about the movie on the video. I know there are a lot of questions about what's going on with Marvel's release schedule this year because a lot of things have been delayed. When are we going to see the first Eternals trailer? So I'll also try to explain that during the video too. Marvel's using the movie as a sort of ancient history lesson on the MCU, where everything came from, the dawn of the universe, the Infinity Stones, the Celestials, eternity. So we'll talk about some of the other really cool Easter eggs and things that they'll show while they're telling the history of the MCU. Starting with number 10, most of you know at least a little bit about the Eternals even if you haven't read those comic books. I will explain which Eternals comic book the movie is going to be based on, but the quick explainer is that they're just a race of ancient humans that were modified by Celestials to become superhumans. There was a Marvel Eternals Comic-Con trailer that they screened at the end of last year and some footage. I did a breakdown video of that where I talk a little bit about the design language of their costumes and how it seems like a lot of the modern day costumes from the present day MCU heroes are inspired by a lot of their Eternals costume designs. So the movie will try to show you how they've influenced the culture in really interesting ways in all the other MCU movies, sort of linking this all together. There are really only 3 main characters in the movie though, even though there are a ton of characters that they've shown you so far. There's Kit Harington's Black Knight. He's not one of the Eternals, he's just a normal human in present day. There's Richard Madden's Icarus and Gemma Chan's Cersei. There was a very notable Black Knight Easter egg during Spider-Man Far From Home when they're in the Tower of London in that big final battle scene. When they're all rushing into the Tower of London to hide from Mysterio's drones, you can actually see them pass by a suit of armor designed to look like the classic Black Knight's armor.
Go into the vault! The walls are 8 feet thick! Go into the vault! What? Into the vault! Go! Take cover!
The really cool thing about his character is that it's actually a title that's passed down through his family. So the real name of Kit Harington's Black Knight is Dane Whitman. The Whitman family has this lineage that goes all the way back to King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table and Merlin. Merlin forged the ebony blade, gave it to the Black Knight's ancestor. He became the first Black Knight. The really cool thing about the sword itself, it does carry a curse, but it's sort of like Kit Harington's version of Stormbreaker. He can use it to teleport the same way Thor uses Stormbreaker to open the Bifrost. When he's wielding the ebony blade, he almost becomes unkillable. He can still be injured, but he can't be killed. The terrible curse that it carries, though, is that the more people he kills with the ebony blade, the thirstier and thirstier the blade gets until he's eventually overcome with bloodlust and becomes a blood wraith. A lot of you asking which of these characters are going to cross over into future Avengers movies or other big Marvel movies. So 8, Kevin Feige also revealed back at D23, Kit Harington's Black Knight would have the quote-unquote opportunity to appear in bigger Avengers-level movies like Avengers 5.
We just heard Kit Harington added, right?
Yes, he's a really amazing actor. And this part came up in the Eternals film that we're doing. We were so happy when he agreed to join. And it is a part that could perhaps grow into something else in the future.
Marvel jumped on him the minute after he ended the main Game of Thrones series. They didn't say how many movies Kit Harington had signed on for in the MCU, but the reason why the Black Knight would join an Avengers team is that he and Cersei had a relationship in the comics. Eventually, they joined the Avengers for a big period. There's even supposed to be some sort of love triangle happening between Kit Harington's Black Knight character, Cersei, and Icarus's Richard Madden. So make all the Game of Thrones jokes about Robb Stark and Jon Snow fighting over a character named Cersei. Number 7, Kit Harington's Black Knight character is not part of the Marvel comic book story that they're basing the movie on. So the movie's always changed the comics just a little bit, but the main story that the movie is borrowing from is Neil Gaiman's 2006 Eternals comic book. If you're a big Neil Gaiman fan or you're a big Eternals fan, Marvel actually did a whole animated mini-series based on that comic book. It was literally page-to-screen copy-paste adaptation. The reason why they're using that story is because it does a really good job in a short time span of telling the history of the Eternals and what's going on with the characters in present day and why they weren't around for Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. If they have godlike powers, wouldn't they have helped out during Avengers Endgame in that big final battle? But what happened in the comics is one of the Eternals went rogue and erased all of their memories, so they all just forgot that they were basically living gods on planet Earth. So you have a bunch of them leading normal lives in present day when everybody's getting snapped during Avengers Infinity War and then coming back in Avengers Endgame. The fact that so much cosmic energy was given off when all those snaps happened is what causes some of the Eternals to start remembering who they are and where they came from. That's why some of the movie is going to be set in present day in 2023 after the events of Avengers Endgame. Number 6, some of the movie is going to take place tens of thousands of years ago, telling the ancient history of the MCU in the Marvel Cosmic Universe. The Eternals were created by the Celestials were created by eternity, so they have to explain all that cosmic history before they can start explaining who the Eternals are. There have been a couple Easter eggs hinting at this in previous Marvel movies, like you have the Guardians of the Galaxy scene where the Collector is explaining the history of the Infinity Stones, and you get a little bit of the history of the Celestials. Number 5 is part of that history lesson. A lot of news sites recently have started reporting that we're going to see the sinking of Atlantis happen while they're doing the montage explaining the history of the MCU. They kind of did a version of that during the Aquaman movie, showing you Atlantis sinking because it's such a big location for that character. Namor isn't supposed to show up during the Eternals movie, so I don't think that Atlantis is going to be a big location or anything like that. You remember the Black Panther movie? At the beginning, they had a bit of a history lesson for vibranium in Wakanda. During that vibranium history lesson, there are also a lot of Easter eggs for other MCU characters in movies, like you see all the World War II stuff happening, big Easter egg for Captain America going down in the ice. If Atlantis did show up during the Eternals movie, it'd be something like that, just an Easter egg in the background, just paying off that Iron Man 2 Easter egg where it sits on the map, and the Avengers Endgame Easter egg with the quote-unquote underwater earthquake. Number 4, a lot of you have also been asking me about how the Eternals movie is going to explain mutants and X-Men in the modern-day MCU and set that up. There's been a lot of talk about this online since the movie was first announced. The big X-Men characters aren't really supposed to start showing up till Marvel Phase 5, so it's still a ways off. What Marvel is doing these next few years with the Marvel Phase 4 movies is just creating the backstory necessary so that it all makes sense when Marvel says, hey, all these big X-Men characters like Wolverine, Professor X, Magneto, Storm, they've been around this whole time, we just haven't seen them till now. There was a very recent Marvel comic book that gave a much more specific answer about this, saying that it was celestial blood tainting Earth's soil that created the X gene, and then eventually the X gene led to the proliferation of mutants. That's not the only way that they're going to introduce mutants in the MCU, but expect the MCU version to be much simpler. Number 3, because we have the multiverse. We have Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness coming up, the WandaVision Scarlet Witch Disney Plus series. WandaVision is really like the next big thing that's going to introduce the concept of mutants and biological powers in the MCU, because Scarlet Witch is a very powerful mutant from the comics, but they've always had to dance around that in the MCU movies. Now they don't have to do that anymore. Number 2, a lot of you also asking about a young version of Thanos maybe showing up during future Eternals movies. Thanos is an Eternal who was born on Titan, so we saw Titan during Avengers Infinity War. There was even an Avengers Infinity War deleted scene that we got concept art for with a young version of Thanos with his family. This is what he would have looked like had this appeared during the movie. Josh Brolin said that he wants to come back as young Thanos. He said that he also wants to come back as Cable inside the MCU through the Deadpool movies. So what I'm hoping is that eventually they'll save his birth for the final Eternals movie if they can make it to a trilogy. In number 1, everyone wants to know, when is the movie coming out? Has it been affected by delays? Marvel hasn't made any changes to its Eternals release date plans, but that's only because the movie was coming out in November, and I think all the movie studios are kind of hoping that most of the trouble with all the shutdowns will be done by the end of the summer, by August or September. They have enough finished footage and effects for a trailer, so where is the first Marvel Eternals trailer? Originally, it would have dropped with the Black Widow movie at the beginning of May, but now because the Black Widow movie has been delayed and they have not announced a new release date yet, right now they're just waiting to find out when they're going to actually release Black Widow, then they'll also release the Eternals trailer with that, at least a couple months before the movie comes out. So even though normally you would get it 6 months before the movie comes out, it might not come till this summer. There's been a lot of talk about Black Widow being released video on demand. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see what the studios say about that before I make a video, but I will post an update video as soon as they announce something. Everyone let me know in the comments, what do you want my next big Marvel video to be about? Everyone click here for my brand new Black Panther 2 preview video, and click here for my brand new Marvel Weapon X video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.